Oh, hello. Have you ever had a time in life where you've seen something you said, that don't make no sense? Guess what? Me too. I've compiled a list of 7 items here that sense it does not make. And that's what I'm calling this, hopefully, series of videos. We'll see if I can think of some more of these in the future, but probably can because I think of all sorts of ridiculous crap. Anyway, the title doesn't even make sense intentionally, and it sounds like Yoda made this video. But anyways, I have been fascinated with things that haven't made sense probably about since I was like 6, 7 years old. One of the first times I saw the comedian Gallagher, and yeah, I know he's the guy that like smashes watermelons with the big mallet and gets everyone all wet and dirty in the first 3 rows of his performances. He's a comedian that I found very interesting for more than just his watermelon smash ability and whatnot. Anyway, he would say things like common words in the English language and just like spell them out. He'd spell the word like laughter. He'd be like laughter, Laughter. And then he would spell the word Daughtr, dafter. And I would see things like that and I'd be like, wow, that is interesting. You know, you spell something so deliberately one way and so similarly the same way, and yet it makes a completely different sound. That doesn't make sense. That's where my grammar Nazism started. Anyways, so here we have 7 things. I promise you only 3 things have to do with grammar. I'm sorry. You know what this channel's about. If you're new here, welcome to Grammar National. Anyway, speaking of Grammar National, my first one is the word national. Now you may say, oh my gosh, what does this guy have wrong with the word national? Well, national, if you look at the definition, it explains that, it pertains to a nation. And then I go, wait, nation, and you add an AL at the end of it, it turns into national. Why isn't it national? Do you ever wonder that? Am I the only one? Seriously? Okay, I probably am. But anyways, I don't understand why in the English language there's words where if you add a suffix to the end of it, if you don't know what a suffix is, look it up. If you add AL to the end of the word nation, it turns into national. You completely change the enunciation of the word nation if you put AL at the end of it. Why? It doesn't make sense. So, if you were to say to someone, hey, did you ever hear my country's national anthem? They'd be like, what are you talking? National anthem? That's not even a word. Well, it's about my nation. It's my nation's anthem, so it should be my national anthem. No, it's national. Why? Because it makes no sense. That's why. That's the only answer. Okay, next is the word extraordinary. Extraordinary, okay? The definition of it means beyond ordinary. Oh, so it's extraordinary, meaning it's beyond the realm of ordinary. It's extraordinary. Why don't we call it extraordinary then? It's spelled the same way. It's the joining of extra and ordinary. It should be extraordinary. No, instead we say extraordinary. So, okay, let's take a different word that combines the word extra with something else, okay? Combine the word extra and terrestrial. What do you get? Extraterrestrial, right? No, you get extraterrestrial. You know why? Because it has the word extra and the word terrestrial in it. That makes too much sense. No, it should be extraterrestrial. Extraterrestrial. Did you see that movie, Extraterrestrial? E.T. the Extraterrestrial? And on top of that, okay, extraterrestrial is not 2 words, it's 1. If you look at the box art on the movie E.T., it hyphenates. It says E.T. the Extraterrestrial, and it puts a hyphen in between extra and terrestrial. That's not a hyphenated word. It's 1 word. The same way extraordinary is 1 word. Steven Spielberg, you're doing it wrong. And on top of that, not only does he hyphenate it, but he makes the movie E.T., inferring that extraterrestrial is 2 separate words that should have 2 different letters and punctuation after it. Like it's your name. Like, okay, I get it. If his name was extraterrestrial, like they showed his birth certificate in the movie, I'd be like, okay, you got me, Steven. That's how you came up with the name of the movie. Bravo. But that's not it. The kids called him the extraterrestrial. It's one word. Ah! So anyways, extraordinary, the extraterrestrial. Okay, let's go talk about the world of sports. Who wants to do sports here? Half the people watching my videos care about sports. The other half go, no. So just skip ahead in this part of the video. But anyway, why do players have agents? Okay, hear me out. I know agents barter for contracts. They talk on your behalf. They say, hey, my guy can throw the ball well, hit the ball well, not drop the ball well, things that, you want your agent to talk about, saying, hey, in case you didn't notice, owner who owns the team and the GM that watches every game of the team, my guy puts up good numbers. Oh, thank you for pointing that out. We didn't notice. Thank you, agent. Oh, we needed you for this. But all that nonsense aside, which clearly the people paying the players obviously know the numbers and the ability of the person trying to get that contract renewed. The agent will take a full percentage of your contract. It used to be as high as 10%. Now it's kind of more dipping in the single digits. So we'll just stick with 5%. Okay. So like your Drew Rosenhauses, your Jay-Z's of the world, they're going to take roughly around 5% of the total value of the contract. So if they get someone signed for a $100 million contract, that agent's going to keep $5 million of those dollars for himself or herself. Wow, that's fair. It's not that much, Arch. Features the percentage. But here, you have someone like Lamar Jackson for the Baltimore Ravens, who I think it was about 3 years ago, he renegotiated his contract with the Ravens. He renegotiated his contract and got a deal that at the time was the highest paid the highest paid quarterback, and I think it was player overall too, in the National Football League. But here's the thing, he doesn't have an agent. Imagine that. The Baltimore Ravens and their ownership just said, okay, yeah, we like what you do for us. You throw the ball well, you run with it well. Yeah, you've gotten the MVP. Okay, you're pretty good. We're going to pay you as the best quarterback in the league. And they did just that. How did he possibly get that done without an agent? And he's keeping all of that money for himself. He's not losing 5 to 10% to some agent. So like when players see like this happen, why do they have an agent speaking on their behalf to get a deal done? And I know people are going to be like, well, they do other things. They will help you get like a commercial deal and stuff like that. They help broker deals for you. Like Lamar Jackson gets sponsorship deals done just fine. He has a personal secretary that doesn't have to pay 24 hours a day, 7 days a week type money. And I know people will be like, well, you don't want to get screwed over by the ownership. They could put tricky stuff in the contract, and please. I'm pretty sure that before Lamar Jackson put his name on any line, he had some sort of sports attorney looked at it, that he only pays a one-time fee to say, hey, look over this and make sure I'm not getting screwed over. And then the lawyer looks at it and goes, okay, you might want to reword this and you might want to reword that, blah, 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 blah. And then they can draft up something and say like, hey, Lamar Jackson's best interest would be represented if you did this and this and this. And then they worked out a deal from there, obviously. So it's not like Lamar Jackson's like, oh, okay, put the papers in front, let me sign it. I'm not going to let anyone look at it. I'm good. Like, no, obviously there is some sort of sports attorney that gets involved at some point in the process. So it's not like you have to be a complete, just totally proficient person in understanding every nuance of a contract. Again, why? People see Lamar Jackson get these top contracts. Why would you lose millions of dollars to get some agent to broker a deal for you? If you play the game well, you will get paid well. Anyway, why do people have agents? Okay, my last grammar thing right here. Can we stop making an F sound with PH? Like, are we all going to be like totally confused if one day we woke up and the word phone was spelled F-O-N-E and not P-H-O-N-E? Like, why did that ever become a thing? I know, it's probably some like the ancient Greece, Latin, something or other. Okay, well, it looks stupid. Enough with the silent word crap like that. I got kids learning English now, learning how to write, and I got to be like, oh, this is a phone. This is, you spell it with a P, Oh, but P makes a P sound. Yeah, well, not here because it doesn't make sense. That's all I can tell you. PH makes an F sound. Why? Because it doesn't make sense, that's why. Sorry, you were born into a household in a country that speaks English. My bad. P-H-U-C-K. Anyway, let's talk about video games. Whoa! Anyways, video games. Okay, first we're going to talk about Super Mario Brothers, and then we're going to talk about my favorite game of all time. Those of you who know what it is, you know what's coming next, right? Okay, stick around for that. And another half of you are going to be like, oh, I don't want to talk about this. Super Mario Brothers, okay? Super Mario Brothers. Love Super Mario Brothers, obviously. You know, hey, growing up in the 80s, how can you not like Super Mario Brothers? But there is something in Super Mario Brothers, and it more so does with some of, not too many of the original games, but like when you get to like Super Mario World, the invincibility star makes no sense because, okay, you get the invincibility star and you kill any enemy you touch. But if you get the invincibility star and you jump on something like a Yoshi, it doesn't kill the Yoshi. Why? Why doesn't it? How does it know that Yoshi is like a friendly, useful device in the game? Like, why doesn't Yoshi die if you have the invincibility star and then you jump on the Yoshi? How can you still control the Yoshi? Like, why? Has it ever been explained at some point? Like, is Yoshi enchanted in some way to not be affected by the invincibility star? Yet, like, if you get hit by something like a fireball of any kind, you will fall off of Yoshi, or if you drop Yoshi in lava, he'll die. But yet, the invincibility star does no damage to him? That don't make no sense. All right. Now, like I said, we're going to be talking about my favorite video game of all time. And those of you who know it, who know me, say it with me out there. My favorite video game of all time is Double Dragon 3. No way. It's Final Fantasy X, of course. Anyway, Final Fantasy X. Love that game. But there is something in this game that I don't hear. I watch a lot of like very super geeky Final Fantasy channels that specifically talk about Final Fantasy X. And no one ever mentions this. And I think this is like a glaring detail that needs to be examined deeply here. And we're going to do just that right now. Buckle up, guys. Final Fantasy X is basically a number of summoners' quest to get to Unalesca and, you know, fight Sin. At least that's what you think in the storyline. Anyways, not to get too deep into it, but you encounter a number of summoners on your way. You're obviously in the party that has Yuna, which is your summoner, and your other characters are the guardians that protect her on her pilgrimage to get to and hopefully defeat Sin. So you encounter a number of other summoners along the way, of which there's Saru, there's Donna, but we're going to stick with Donna, just to stick with one other summoner to compare your summoner and guardians to. Something that I've always said that doesn't make any sense is you will be progressing through the game and you will run into the other summoners, and Donna only has Bartella with her as her guardian. She never has anyone else to protect her. She doesn't find anyone else along the way like you do. Like when you get to the moon flow, you get Riku to join your group. Like, am I to believe that I'm going through like the Mihan High Road and fighting enemies and stuff, and I have to constantly switch out characters and cast this and that? Oh, Waka fell asleep. I gotta, wake him back up. And oh no, this one's KO'd. I gotta use the Phoenix down. Like, am I to believe that Donna and Bartello get as far as you in the story with just two people, and you have 7, depending on when you got to Orin to join the crew, and then if you got to Moonfall, you got Riku to join your crew as well. But you have at least 5 people at your disposal at almost all times. And I'm to believe that Donna and Bartello progress as far as you to the story, up to the point where the Albed capture all the summoners. That don't make any sense. Like, what is Donna's summon? God? Does Bartello have like 1,000 elixirs? They never explain it. And on top of that, Bartello is always so envious of Orin, which is one of your guardians. and he wants his autograph. He speaks up to him, and Bartello, he honestly comes off like a dumbass. Like, he's kicking 10 times more butt than your party is. He must be, because you have a team of 7. And on top of that, the summoners should be laughing at you. They should be like, geez, you got enough guardians with you, bitch? Like, damn, man. I'm just going here, and Asaro's going with one guy too. Like, get your weight up, girl. Hit the gym or something. Like why? Like, daughter of Braska? The last summoner that defeated Sin, and she needs 7 people to help her? Even Braska had 2 guys, so even Braska was pretty weak. Again, Donna is going with just Bartello. How does that make any sense? And on top of that, like, how did Braska defeat Unalesca? Or get to Unalesca. You obviously didn't defeat her. You end up defeating. Oh, sorry, spoiler. Anyways, not to get too deep in the storyline here, but it's like, you jacked Braska and Orin made it to and got to Sin to defeat him, and then Braska then becomes the Aeon that ends up becoming Sin. Like, how did that happen? How did they get through the Calmlands with just 2 people? How does Donna do it? It doesn't make any sense. Good grief, Square Enix, get your shit together. All right, so there you go. That's the story of Donna in Final Fantasy X. All right, last thing I'll end you with something like, it's a little quirky. It's a little something. This is probably, I tried to think back on what, like, the farthest back thing I could think of that I thought that made no sense. And I can remember as a kid watching tube televisions, because obviously that's all we had in the 1800s. There was something about a tube television that I always thought, and I can remember as a kid, that just didn't make any sense. And I was a very, very, very cynical child. Again, I'm the one that in front of the kindergarten class, when they cooked the big gingerbread man, I remember going down and they showed us the gingerbread man they made in the kitchen, the cafeteria, and they went back the next day and they're, oh no, there's only crumbs on the cookie sheet. The gingerbread man ran away. I was like, no, it didn't. They just put it somewhere else. And I could just, remember saying that in front of the class. I can imagine the teacher going, like, shut up, you little asshole. Don't ruin it for all the other kids. But anyways, that was me, a cynic, at age 6 or 7, that was. So anyways, enough of my boring childhood aside, but this pertains to my boring childhood as well. Tube televisions, okay? They had the old UHF dial, the VHF dial, went 1 through 13, or was it 1 through 12? 1 through 13, I think it was. And then the UHF went to 6 million. Anyway, there was also a number of dials where you can adjust like the contrast, the brightness, the I don't know, there's like 6 other ones. But there's one in particular that I always said, why is this on here? I'll give you guys that actually have tube televisions a chance to guess. What am I going to say? What am I going to say? Okay. Time's up. The vertical hold. For those of you who don't know what the vertical hold is on a tube television, it's something where you could turn it all the way to the left or all the way to the right. And if you turn it a little bit, your image on your screen, like if this is the top of the image, like I'm holding up to the camera right now, this is where like the top of my head is here. So this is what I do. If you turn it a little bit, the top of my head goes here, and then the bottom of my shirt starts coming out here, and then I fall back into frame again, and then it just goes and then cycles down, and then cycles down. But if you turn it all the way, it goes like this. It makes it like completely indiscernible, and you can't watch it. It's completely dysfunctional. There's absolutely no reason why you would want to do that. Yet they have that ability on the television. Why? Why would you ever, at any point, want the hold of the image on the television to scroll at any point? Why? I can remember that back as far as I can remember as a kid being like, why is this even an adjustable feature on your television? I can understand like you want to make the TV brighter or darker. Maybe you don't want the parents to know the TV's on, so you turn it real dim. So if they look in, they go, oh, it doesn't have the TV on, but like, no, your face is right up to it and you're like, I can see it still. Anyways, another thing, do you guys remember tube televisions where you turn them off and there'd just be like a little light in the center of it and like you just stare at it and it like takes like a minute to dissipate and it just goes away? Boy, if that wasn't fun stuff. I know someone out there got like, I remember that. I didn't think about that. The watch we just mentioned that. Yeah, I do remember that. Anyways, a vertical hold on television. Someone that's like a tech person out there, like maybe you've worked on tube televisions at some point in your life. Why is the vertical hold ever a thing? Because another thing about vertical holds is you didn't see them on all televisions. There was some tube televisions. I do believe it was like most of the tube televisions didn't have that as an option. So there has to be a legitimate reason why the vertical hold was put on some televisions to begin with. Why? Because it makes no sense. As does everything else on this list. It doesn't make sense. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm going to try and whip up another 7 of these, and I don't know. It's just like, this is like the type of nonsense I want to do on this channel. It's not something that people are going to search out and find and be like, oh my gosh, look at the video this guy made. This is just a treat for people that are sticking around and just want to hear me meander on about nonsense. So thank you guys for sticking around after, oh my gosh, 19 years on this website. Jeez Louise. I just hit my 19th anniversary on, it was like April 6th, I think it was. Anyways, closing in on 20. I guess that's an accomplishment. And the fact that even hundreds of people still tune in to hear what I have to say. Thank you guys. Anyways, have a good day. That is all.